Conmebol World Cup qualifiers are back in a little over a week, and in today's video, your favorite racially ambiguous and clearly Irish diaspora duo are back to give your official Conmebol predictions. This is our preview for match day 13 and 14. Just a reminder, we will be back after the window to do a full recap and takeaways video. We might even do a live stream for one of these World Cup qualifiers. We're not so sure yet, so make sure you hit subscribe and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram to receive the notices if we go live or not. Hit subscribe if you like South American football, and make sure that you share the podcast with a friend who might also find this content interesting. Now, maybe this first game is interesting, Connor. Paraguay versus Chile in Asunción. Does this game interest you?
Yeah, it interests me solely for the reason I want to know what these teams look like after such a long break. I mean,
you want to see Chile embarrassed.
I didn't say that. How upset would I be? I don't know. It depends. You know, I'm a big Gareca fanboy. It's not like I want them to do poorly. I'm not exactly a Chilean fan. And being that my stepmother is Peruvian, I have a vested interest in rooting against them. However, I don't know. I don't wish them any ill. It's not fun to see a team play like this. It's not good. These guys went and they gave France a run for their money a long time ago, and we've just been riding the coattails. We're like, well, what can they do? I don't know. I'm either selling this window eons ago. I'm selling completely if I haven't sold all stock already, or there's a bright light here. I think Gareca is such a good coach that after this break there could be something. But if I was to tell you what the betting favorites are, the Vegas odds are for this, I'd say pray for Chile, because Paraguay is massive favorite, and frankly, they have been unapologetic in their style of play. So I'm ready for Paraguay to come in and spank these boys. Paraguay, this game right here has to be an assertion. They have to come back and say, "You thought we were in form? No. We're good. We are good."
I think the one case for Chile here is that Chile are actually kind of a bogey team for Paraguay. They have 4 wins and 1 draw against Paraguay in the last 5 meetings. And Chile actually did the double against Paraguay in the last cycle. And I think we talked about this when these guys played each other the first time, that I was like, can somebody please in the comments tell me why Paraguay can't beat Chile? And we got no satisfactory answers. I think I asked our buddy Roberto, like, hey, why can't you guys beat Chile? And his answer was mid as hell. So I need somebody to do a better job down below of telling me what's going on here. Is it really the case that this is just a bogey team? I mean, those do exist in football. We see them all the time. Yeah. Tottenham with Man City type thing. It might be one of those cases. I thought this was really interesting. According to the FIFA rankings going into this game, Paraguay are ranked 53rd and Chile are ranked 50, which means, number one, Paraguay are currently the 9th ranked team in Conmebol, according to the rankings, which is crazy because we probably have them in our top 3 power ranked South American teams right now. And also, if they beat Chile in this game, they will no doubt leapfrog them in the next edition of the rankings. So there's a lot to play here for, not just points wise, but also for future seeding and pots and all that stuff with the World Cup. But at the end of the day, we're seeing the 8th best offense in Conmebol, that is Chile's, against the 2nd best defense in Conmebol, that is Paraguay, at the Chaco in Asunción, where Paraguay have been playing pretty close to out of their skin. What's your score prediction for this one?
I've got a 2-0 for Paraguay. I don't really see a world in which Chile is able to score on this defense at home. That doesn't add up. There's no real argument for it outside of, well, they scored 10 goals in their last 2 games. But like you said, competition was not very stiff. And I don't know how high confidence is going to be going into this. I don't think that the locker room is a pleasant place to be right now. Now, if Gareca is able to use that and mold that into a positive and say, we're going to go in here, and if nobody scores, going to have my boys kidnap your families, I have no idea. It may be a Russia 2018 maneuver. That's really the only...
Even that threat might not be enough.
It might not be enough. It won't be enough for Berta Diaz. Definitely not. That man has been MIA.
Finished, unfortunately.
Yes.
I also have a 2-0 for Paraguay. I'm not sure that Paraguay is capable yet of being a team that can score like 4 goals in a game. That's the only thing that would shock me here is if Paraguay won by like 3-0. Also,
Yeah.
Chile, they're still going to be playing for pride. They're still in qualification because of the expanded spot, so they're going to give it a proper go. They might even score a goal, but I just don't think they're going to win this game.
No,
So we're
not at
both
all.
going Paraguay by 2 for this one. Next up, we have a pretty heavy hitting game, Brazil versus Colombia in Brasilia. Now, Brazil have won the last 2 World Cup qualifiers against Colombia in Brazil, both by 1 goal in each game. And for me, really, I have this circled on the calendar, literally, as the Neymar game, as far as I'm concerned. I will be watching him more than I will be watching Brazil. And if Neymar plays well, that will factor into my predictions for the Brazilian national team, not just in the next game against Argentina, not just for the rest of qualifiers, but for the World Cup and how far these guys can go.
Yep.
For Colombia, am I right in saying they cannot lose this game?
They cannot. They cannot. This is a big one.
It's a big one. It's a big one, man.
It's a big one.
I mean, I think Colombia really has to puff their chest and be like, no, we're a top dog. No, the Copa wasn't a fluke. And speaking of the Copa, I know that it was a 1-1 draw. First off, John Cordoba's goal was incorrectly called offsides. They should have won that game. They literally drew the line to the wrong Colombian player. And Colombia beat Brazil performance-wise in that game. So, and they beat them last time they played in World Cup qualifying. So Colombia are coming in within this fixture as the better side, hands down. I don't want to hear any Brazilian try to say otherwise. But we have the return of Neymar. We have this game in Brazil. I would love to know the last time Colombia got a competitive win away in Brazil, if it's ever happened. And I don't know if you saw the Brazilian call-up list, dude, but our boy Matheus Cunha made the squad. And I'm just saying, man, I know he's had a rough start to his Brazil career. Ojo con Cunha. That's all I'm
Ojo
saying.
con
Like,
Cunha. Ojo con Cunha. Let me tell you something right here. Are you ready? Savinho, Rafinha, and Neymar. That is
oh,
terrifying. And if you throw Cunha on top of all of that, that is something that has inspired fear in me, an Argentine who is sitting pretty as far as I'm concerned right now. But that strikes fear. That strikes fear. Now, here's my thing. I think Brazil's going to win this game. I think Brazil's going to win this game. That being said, Neymar may not be there. And before you destroy me right now, I think they win regardless, whether Neymar's there or not. I think this team sees Neymar on the horizon and they say, we got to put on. We got to put on. So I think not just for Neymar, but the fact that they got a little break. We don't know what this Brazil team, that they're stubborn, even though they're bad right now, quote unquote, for them. They're in good position. They know that they need this game. And frankly, they want to take that energy going into Argentina. So they're going to play a very clean game. I think they're going to rely heavily on passing. That's going to force them into like a juego bonito. And it's going to be completely up to Colombia to disrupt that. And God help them if Neymar's on the pitch, because I'm really banking on him having, I don't want to say a worldy of a performance, but I think the guy's going to come in. I think Brazil's got this.
What do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be a 3-1.
Okay,
With Neymar,
3-1.
I think it's going to be a 3-1.
A little bit of a beat down there. Okay, I went Brazil 1-0.
You think so? You think it's going to be so conservative?
Close. Well, I just don't think Brazil are clinical. That's the problem. Neither are Colombia. And Colombia's defense has probably taken the biggest dip of any area of the pitch since the Copa. If this was like peak Colombia, I would have been so bullish. I might even predict a Colombian victory, but it just seems written in the stars that they're not going to win this game. And I think even if they have a valiant defeat, they can probably walk out and be okay.
Yeah.
But that being said, if Colombia win this, like, damn, they're also back. Like, just like that.
Just like that. It only takes one step. I mean, this is a massive game. This game is a total
Massive.
linchpin. It is huge.
Yes.
Whichever team wins this is going to go on and just be really damn good throughout the next couple windows.
I
The
completely
final
agree.
couple windows. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, we're coming down to the wire here. Okay, so we're both going Brazil victory just by different score lines here.
Yep.
Next up, we have Peru versus Bolivia in Peru. So the question is, does Bolivia win another World Cup qualifier away from home?
Can I tell you something? I don't think so.
Please.
I
You don't
I,
think
I
so?
think I want them to. If it ain't a draw, it's going to be a 1-0. It's going to be the ugliest 1-0 you ever seen. And I think
Yeah.
Advíncula is going to score the goal. I don't think Peru has much to offer in offense. I think he's gonna have to put on a Herculean effort and straight up deadlift this dead Peruvian team.
Yeah, I'm also thinking Peru get it by 1. I was kind of thinking a 2-1 here, and that's kind of me paying some respect to Bolivia because I think they've been scoring goals away from home.
Mhm.
They just get
Yeah.
cut up defensively outside of El Alto. Like they cannot defend whatsoever without altitude. So I do think and I think Peru's going to have the ball too. So I think there's going to be the opportunity for some Bolivian counterattacks. And like watching Peru try to possess the ball. Yeah, folks. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo too much, but if this is on at the same time as Ecuador Venezuela, our next game, I'm gonna have to watch the Ecuador game. Not that Ecuador Venezuela are two offensive juggernauts, but I don't know. If Bolivia win though, goddamn, they're going to the World Cup. They're
If
one away, win away.
if Bolivia win, I'm ready to start taking them seriously. I'm ready to buckle down, and I'll start consistently putting energy into watching Bolivian games.
You don't think people
ready.
would just say, "Oh, it was only Chile and Peru. They're the worst
No.
teams."
No. Oh, listen, to me, I don't care what team it is. It's the fact that Bolivia got to win away from home. That takes them from being, a fluke team to something that needs to be considered and taken seriously, to me.
Okay. Well, speaking of fluke teams, we'll talk about Ecuador versus Venezuela next. Now, Venezuela, bro, down bad, 0 wins in the last 8 games. Only looked like a solid football team at home. They just allowed 4 goals to Chile in their last away game. What do you think happens here and why?
I think that Venezuela, there's not a world where they can outplay this Ecuadorian defense, especially not at home.
Could they
It's
get a
just
draw
not
though?
happening. No, I don't really see that either. I think that Venezuela is going to give Ecuador the ball, and with Caicedo being the Caicedo that he is now, I think that Ecuador feels comfortable holding the ball. And even in an instance of what a Venezuelan counterattack, which is 120% of their game plan, I,
Mhm.
I I think that Ecuador is going to be composed enough to grab that ball and counter the counter. I just think that they're confident enough to do that. And I think that Estupinan's going to be looking to make waves. I think that Caicedo loves playing for Ecuador. I think it's locked up. And these boys are ready to hit the ground running. They're a young team. Copa America didn't end up how they wanted it to. This is the next one. They have nothing but like it's the sky from here on out. And I think they're looking to get after that. They're chomping at the bit.
I don't disagree, but at the same time, BKCC and Ecuador lose this game. Like you
Mhm.
can't let Venezuela beat you at home,
No.
especially in Quito. So Ecuador is also getting the altitude buff here. You can't lose this game because then everything good that happened last window is going to be like, that was a fluke, once in a lifetime thing. There's so many storylines that we're going to have to talk about after this window. So again, hit subscribe for that. What's your score line here?
My scoreline here is a 1-0.
Do you know the last time Ecuador scored more than 2 goals against Venezuela?
2017?
Very close. 2016 was the last time they scored more than 2 goals against Venezuela. I just had that stat for anybody thinking like Ecuador's about to pump these guys like 5-0. I don't think that's the case.
No.
And I was looking, Ecuador have scored more than 1 goal 3 out of the 12 qualifying games so far. Like these guys are unfortunately 1-0 merchants right now. And hey, they're a damn good team and they're really scary. Just don't expect them to score a lot. I also have a 1-0. I was oscillating between 1-0, 2-0. I guess maybe I'll take the upper just so that we have different scores, but
2-0 for
I don't know.
maybe a set piece and an open play goal, something like that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, we've had the same question for Ecuador for years. Who's going to score?
Yep.
Nobody's answering the question. Like just because you destroyed Bolivia, it's not gonna convince me.
No.
So okay, we are what 4 games in. We have the same, at least same winner for every single one. Now we got Uruguay versus Argentina in Montevideo. Bit of a revenge game here for Argentina after the 2-0 victory for Uruguay at the Bombonera earlier in the cycle. Probably Uruguay's best game of qualifying. I'm very comfortable saying that. What do you think happens?
I think that Uruguay is going to play out of their skin for this game. I think they want to come back and they say, it started here. We can reignite it here. And this is an opportunity to, prove that Bielsa isn't Argentine. Screw it. Let's beat them. Let's beat them. They're going to be going crazy.
I just
Darwin,
realized something.
yeah.
So Colombia and Uruguay, right? No doubt top
Mhm.
4 teams in Conmebol, but they're kind of falling right now. I just realized that in this window, both of those teams have the opportunity to either do the double against Brazil or do the double against Argentina. So exactly as you said, this is we're in Pokemon and we're using the revive if we get the 3 points in this game. Like you're absolutely sailing back. Like what better time to do it? Probably a better time for Uruguay just because, well, it's at home. And also there's kind of the little brother, big brother rivalry here, more of like a friendlier rivalry in the Argentina side, even though the Uruguayans hate y'all. Do not forget that. And Colombia, Brazil is not really like it's a rivalry, but like it's not Colombia's number 1 rival. So it's a bit different here. I think the intangibles favor Uruguay. I'll put it like that. So you kind of thinking they play out of their skin. Do you think they can get a victory?
I think that there's a world in which they get a victory, but I'm going to level with you. That, in my opinion, counts on them scoring goals. And I think that they need Darwin to be a genuine threat. And listen, Bielsa Darwin, he changed the game. He started doing things. But I think that his ego is just so shot right now from his Liverpool play that I don't really know what I see here. It would count on Darwin popping off, the supporting cast supporting, and it would count on Argentina taking a step back. And we have new guys. I think they brought in a lot of these new guys to watch. They're going to throw out the veterans. They're going to throw out the tried and true, and they're going to say, watch how we do this. Watch how Otamendi defends. Watch how he does this. Watch the attitude that you need to have going out there, because I don't care if you play for Bournemouth or Marseille or you're cutting holes in your socks and playing your pretty little football, but you've got to get down and dirty for these. You've got to get down and dirty. This is what the job entails. This is what the badge requires. So come and watch. I think that Argentina's got this. I think that they have this in the bag, especially knowing that they're going against Brazil next. They're looking to reaffirm, and I think that these are going to be some ugly games. I think that these are going to be some ugly, ugly games. Romero's going to be out for blood because Tottenham can't keep up with him. He's a show horse. Not like a Sergio Ramos or anything like that where he's got to be seen, but he wants to play good footy, and he wants to play his Conmebol South American footy. So just set him free. Just set him free. Let him play his game. I think the Uruguayans will be hard-pressed. They'll be a little scared going up against him. I think he's looking for it.
So
our one issue, we're lacking firepower here. We're missing Emi Martinez, not that he's firepower, but we're missing Lautaro, De Paul, and Lo Celso. So, like it or not, it's going to have to be Messi, and it's going to have to be Julian Alvarez. But I've got confidence in that man. He's been playing in La Liga. He's been doing pretty damn well.
Best strikers in Europe right now.
One of the best strikers in Europe right now. But Conmebol, there's a hard reset in a rivalry game in Conmebol. So, God help me. I'm going to say a 2-0. Argentina.
Okay. I'm really glad you said that.
We're different finally.
I mean, look, I had 2 things in my head. Argentina 1-0 and 1-1 draw. Why I'm going to be different from you, and I'm going to ultimately lean more towards the draw slightly, is one reason, and that is Uruguay's performance against the elite teams in CONMEBOL. I actually think Uruguay dropped their level so effing hard when they play like Peru, Venezuela, and I'm gonna even say Ecuador. And Ecuadorians will be offended, but they're not in the elite of Conmebol, at least historically. This generation is, but the Uruguayans simply do not have respect for Ecuador yet. That could change. They don't. Nobody looks at the Ecuador badge with all due respect, like they look at Brazil, Argentina, or Colombia, even. So, for those reasons, I think they're going to do just enough to get an ugly ass draw. And some of the omissions, like Dibu, especially, kind of scared me. And Depal
Yep.
as well. I mean, you guys are stacked in the midfield, but those are still some big losses to have. I mean, I just remember like Uruguay, the Copa America, what they do. They, I mean, scraped by the U.S. men's national team 1-0, like hideous game. They got a 0-0 draw, went to pens against Brazil. They've drawn Colombia away in the Barranquilla earlier. They've beaten Argentina in the Bombonera. They've beaten Brazil. They beat Brazil at home, tied Brazil away. Those aren't the results where they're fumbling the bag. They're fumbling the bag Peru away. They're fumbling the bag Paraguay at home. They're fumbling the bag. I guess we're going to see what happens when they go to Bolivia. I mean, if they drop that, I wouldn't be surprised.
They're not winning the games that they got to win. 100%. Yeah.
They're like glory hunters. They're like going for the big dogs. They don't want to deal with the little,
Dude, to
tiny.
me,
They don't want the Kremlings, bro. They want the chasm fiends. You know what I'm saying?
That's yes, they're hunting the gem hearts, which look,
Hunting the
all
gem
well
hearts.
and good, but
Yeah.
you got to win the games you got to win. 100%. And yeah, it's an ego thing to me. I saw Argentina do this. I mean, a ton. You know, we'd put up banging games against the Netherlands, but then we struggled against Nigeria in the group stage. What's going on? You know,
You need the hate sometimes.
you need the hate. You need the hate. You need
And
spite
they
is a great
hate
motivator.
you.
They hate us.
They
Yeah.
hate you. They fucking hate you so much. You want to piss off an Uruguayan, just call them the provincia. And it's like their head just explodes, dude. So, one final stab before we move on. And this one does favor your prediction. And this is why I was going back and forth so hard. I struggle with this prediction more than any other game. There's been 2 draws in the last 11 meetings between these sides. So, like, they go at it. There's a lot of goals sometimes, and there's a winner at the end of the day. So I'm kind of going against history here, going against form, going against the numbers. I'm going more into the intangibles, which I feel like is usually your strength. We'll see if that bites me in the ass. Let's move on to the next match day. It usually does, and it will be no different for myself. Speaking of that game, Bolivia versus Uruguay in El Alto. Let's just go ahead and start there. So I was looking at Uruguay's record in Bolivia. I'm fascinated how different national teams perform away in Bolivia. They have 2 wins and 2 losses in the last 4 qualifying games. And in all of those games, at least 2 goals were scored. And a lot of the times it's like a 3-2. I mean, Uruguay, Bolivia, low key is like one of the clásicos in South America. If you want to see goals and exciting football, I don't know what it is. Uruguay usually come out on top, but Bolivia score goals. So, what's your prediction here?
I had a draw, and I'm kind of going counterculture here. I had a 1-1 written down.
Okay.
And I don't know what the circumstances are that lead up to that, right? Because now you got me thinking about the intangibles. Does that change if Uruguay win this, right? If Uruguay win against Argentina, do they come into this game hot? Are they on fire? Are they ready to go? What if Bolivia wins away from home and they say, "Oh my God, we could wrap it up with a win, or we could get that much closer with a draw against Uruguay"? How does that happen?
Yeah.
God, you really messed me up with the score lines there, telling me that there's so many goals into this year. I'm just going to read my notes here, and we're going to vibe. This is crucial if Uruguay wants to be taken seriously. Like, I give a damn what the result is against Argentina, frankly. For Uruguay going forward, I could give a damn. It does not matter. If they win, if they beat us by 6, it does not matter. I'm telling you right now. You have to win the games you have to win. I will not take them seriously unless they're able to beat the teams they should beat, right? So, as far as I'm concerned, the Argentina game, it's rivalry. It doesn't count. This is the game, to me, in this window that matters the most for them going forward. It's a great opportunity for Darwin and Fede to showcase the skill divide here, but it's still Bolivia at home. I think that that's kind of going to be the great equalizer. I think that's going to be the great equalizer. I'd be betting against the Vegas odds, against history, if I said anything less. So you know what? I'll change my draw to a 2-2. How about that? But I'm still going draw, flat out.
Okay. I'm going Bolivia by 1. I think they win 1-0.
1-0?
Because
You think it's 1-0?
1-0. Yeah, I Bolivia by 1. It might be a 2-1. I don't know.
Okay.
But here's my thing. If you think Uruguay is back, they win this game 2-1 away. Ugly, scrape it. They do the bare minimum. They get out of Bolivia. Nobody's trying to play pretty ball there. If you believe Bolivia are actually talented, they win this game. And I believe that thesis more than I believe the thesis that Uruguay are back. I think that Argentina, these big games are different. I don't think Uruguay has animosity towards Bolivia. And I think, man, if Bolivia even draw Peru away, well, they're going to be feeling themselves. Coming back to El Alto, they're going to be like, yeah. Let's not forget they beat Colombia with 10 men at home.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to smell blood. And this Uruguay team away from home is painfully mid. Painfully mid. So I'm not just going to, for no reason, because they're ranked higher in the FIFA rankings, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I think Uruguay stomp. No, I don't think so. I think Bolivia are going to win this game. I really do. So we'll see what happens. Another big game here, Argentina versus Brazil. I don't think this game is in Buenos Aires. I think it's in one of the provincias, but I didn't recognize the name.
Wow,
Stadium.
really?
I think so. Yeah,
I'm
do not think
shocked.
it's in Buenos Aires.
I thought it was for sure going to be at the Monumental.
Not at the Monumental, not at the Bombonera. I didn't
No, it's not
recognize
the
the stadium name. I thought it had like Santiago or something in it. Obviously not Chile. But regardless, you and I both know that these are usually brutal, terrible games. Like terrible, just not great as a viewing experience, more of like an UFC event than it is a football match. Do you think that Argentina win?
I have Argentina pegged for a 2-1 victory here.
Dude, if we get 3 goals, historic.
Historic.
Come on. We know this is a 1-goal max.
We know that this is a 1-goal max, but here's my thought process surrounding the extra goals. I think that Neymar's going to be there, and I think that they're going to be it's a corner kick. No, I think that they're going to really open up for this. I think that it's going to be the Brazilian forwards dropping back and combating that sort of Argentine wall that is the midfield that we have, beautiful midfield that we have, and they're just going to try and burn us on the sides. I really think that they're going to be holding and just getting ready to be let loose. So Argentina's got to be really worried about the counters here. I think we're going to be overtly pragmatic, but I think Brazil might score first, and I think that's going to kick us in the ass. It's going to get us going. So,
I like that.
Dude, I'm pegging a clásico here. I'm pegging Brazil scores first. Argentina gets an ugly one. And then maybe, God, just like all of the other games, we're looking at a freaking deadlock. And it's going to be miserable until some asshole gets a header in the 90th minute. And it's going to be Otamendi. I don't know.
It is.
It's going to be rife with BS. So, yeah, Argentina wins by 1. Oh, yeah. The one thing I had to say about this is that the Uruguay game, I think, is going to be nasty. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be angry. For the Brazil game, I think there's 2 ways. We either have to channel into that and double down on our history, which I'm nervous about because we won't have the ball, or we have to be perfect. We have to be perfect in the midfield. Like, I mean, Julian Alvarez basically has to play as a 4th midfielder. Like, we have to be infallible there.
Here's how I see this game. I got Argentina 1-0. I think if Neymar comes back, cooks against Colombia, and starts again versus you guys, I would be tempted to call a 1-1. but I cannot see more than 2 goals. I will be blown away if we get more than 2 goals here, and I don't think Argentina is going to win 2-0, especially if we get the Allison from the Champions League in
Yeah.
this game. There's just no
Yep.
way.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I need to see Brazil really play well away from home because so far it ain't been great. I mean, they failed to beat Venezuela away for the first time ever in a World Cup qualifier. They have 2 victories as is away from home. 1-0 versus Peru, 2-1 versus Chile. In both of those games, they scored the winner in the 89th and 90th minute. So they're like scraping by these away victories. And Peru away is not easy. Chile away is still not easy, although Bolivia did win there, just saying. I'm just not convinced yet. And I think Argentina is a very difficult country to play in. And you guys would like nothing more than Brazil to beat Colombia 3-0, come into Argentina thinking that they're back, and you guys just play whack-a-mole and knock them back down. But I think it's going to be an ugly-ass game.
It's going to be nasty.
Yeah, 1-0.
It's going to be nasty.
I think the goal is going to be beautiful. I'm going to say that. I think we get a great goal in this game, but I think the game itself sucks.
God, it's the kind of game that I love to watch and that the Europeans can't stand.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
But it's also the type of footy that will probably have at least one of these teams in the semifinal of the World Cup.
Oh my, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Get ready. Daddy's home. Oh man, I miss Conmebol. It's been a long.
We're gonna have to pick a
months?
live stream for one of these. Yeah, 4 months.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to say this earlier. I looked back at the last cycle to see, okay, after the 4-month break last time, did like absolute chaos erupt? Kind of. There were a few upsets after the 4-month break for 2022 qualifying. Peru beat Ecuador in Quito. That was a big, big upset last cycle. An absolutely trash Venezuela team drew Uruguay 0-0 at home. Fun fact, that was Venezuela's only draw of the entire cycle. 1 draw in 18 games. They lost 14 games last cycle. So Uruguay frauds, I guess. And Chile, you're not going to like this one, drew Argentina in Argentina 1-1. So we got, let's see, there's 10 games, and I would say 3 like kind of surprising result, 2 really surprising, 1 kind of surprising result. I wonder, over under right now, y'all watching, over under, do we get 3 upsets over under in March in Conmebol? Let us know, because I'm really curious. Maybe,
yeah, over under. Let's do it.
Maybe we're not going to see any. Chile, Ecuador. This one is in Santiago. Ecuador won this game actually last cycle 2-0, which was a pretty big result. Chile weren't quite as ass as they are now. But historically, Chile tend to beat Ecuador at home from what I was seeing. And I guess the question here is, can the Ecuador golden generation beat a desperate Chile in Santiago? What do you say?
I had it written down that Chile hadn't beaten Ecuador since 2019.
Copa America, I think. Group stage 1-0.
A decent Chile. Not a good one. Decent.
And a young Ecuador. Like,
yeah. Very young.
I think in Campia was 18 at that Copa or something.
I think that I'm going to fall back on what I said about Ecuador in the last prediction. They got to showcase the talent gap. You have the makings of greatness here. Just sit with composure and wait for them to make a mistake. Because if we know anything about this Chile, they need the win. You guys don't. Sit back, let them make the mistakes, and then capitalize on them. That's the only way that this should go down. That is the only plausible way. If any other result happens, it is because Ecuador fumbled the bag, which they're still a young team. And I think the game before this will tell us a lot. But I've got Ecuador winning. I've got them 2-0.
Okay. I got Ecuador 1-0 here.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because you say Ecuador don't need the win. But I think you could look at it like this, where Ecuador having Venezuela at home, Chile away, the expectation is absolutely 6 points for these guys. And there is a doomsday scenario where they walk out with 2 draws or a win. A win and a loss wouldn't be doomsday, but like a loss and a draw.
Yeah.
And then again, we know how Ecuadorian fans are about their head coach. They have not been satisfied since Alfaro left. And I think if Becasese fumbled and got them 1 or 2 points this window, they'd be like, bro, are you serious? Especially if Uruguay lose, then they're going to be like, we could have gone second. Like, when are we going to start? You know, like what you said about, I think it was Colombia or Uruguay earlier. You said you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yeah.
I think Ecuador would be saying the same thing. They'd be like, come on, man. Like, Bolivia can beat them, but we can't. Like, that being said, though, I still don't see goals in this Ecuador side. So I'm going to keep saying they control the game. Chile's defense is not good. They're going to make a mistake. I think Ecuador get a goal. If they get 2 goals, excellent. 3, I'd be shocked. But glowing success if they got 3 goals here. Yeah, Chile, I think their hope, I was thinking of the bull argument for the Chileans. It's that they beat Venezuela and scored 4 goals in the last game. And Venezuela's defense is quite okay, but not away from home.
No.
Only at home. Only in Maturin is their defense good. So, yeah, maybe you rely on just Ecuador being kind of a blunt attack, and you know, football's football. Anything can happen. You get a penalty kick or something and win that way. I think that's the path forward for Chile.
Yeah. Yeah. How realistic is that? I don't know. I'm not buying it. I'd see a draw.
Yeah, Chile victory here, and we're gonna have a lot to say on that recap pod.
I have a lot to say, yeah.
Colombia versus Paraguay. This is a big one.
This might be the match of the window to me. I was looking.
Can I echo that?
I was thinking about it. Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
The other ones, the big rivalry games, they're fun for me because I want to see the ugly fighting and the drama, and I want to see the slide tackles. I think these guys are going to be playing on a clip, especially if Colombia finds their groove in their first game. If Colombia shows any sign of life, they're going to go into Paraguay saying, we have to do this. We want to do this. If Colombia recaptures any sense of who they were before the Copa America and during the Copa America, I think that this is going to be a banging game. Can I tell you, the only team that I don't really have doubts about, now that I think about it, is Paraguay, though. That's the only team that I feel like is going to come into this window, and I'm reasonably confident that they are going to be playing to the level that they were before. I
think they have the highest morale. The highest morale of any team.
Yeah, they've been itching to get back here. You know, they're all doing their thing at their clubs, but they're like, we were pissing excellence before we left. Let's do it. Let's get back there. We're hungry. So as long as they didn't lose that chip on their shoulder, I think this is going to be good. And this is the chance for their big team hat trick. Time for redemption, fellas. This is it. You do this, you beat Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia. You need Uruguay, and you've got the Infinity Stones at this point.
I literally have Colombian Resurrection versus Paraguayan Infinity Stones. That is the storyline for this game. If Paraguay win, they are making the quarterfinals of the World Cup or better. And if Colombia wins, if Colombia are the first one to take down the Alfaro-led Paraguay side, then they're back. The faith is restored.
Yeah.
Jerusalem is retaken. And we can go full steam ahead on the Colombian train that we were all riding before, well, I guess before the Copa America started.
Wait, is Colombian Saladin or Richard the Lionhearted in this metaphor?
Well, that's for y'all to decide down below. He's Luis Diaz in this metaphor.
He's Luis Diaz.
Saladin is Luis Diaz. Okay, what's your prediction here?
I'm going with Paraguay.
Shit. Okay. All right. Okay, I got Colombia 1-0.
You got Colombia 1-0? Let's do it.
Let's
rip it. Let's see. You got me bullish.
I got the most Colombian stock, bro.
That is totally fair. But you sold me on Paraguay. I had to eat my words. And this happens. You know, I sold on Venezuela. I sold on Paraguay. I'm ready to eat my words here. All right. I do that every once in a while. Because when
See,
I'm wrong, I'm
you're
wrong
thinking
big.
3 Paraguay points. They get a dub in Colombia. God
Yeah,
damn.
that's kind of crazy when I hear it out loud. But you know what? To be
Dude.
different, I'm sticking with it.
Oh.
I don't think I've said enough crazy shit this episode. So yeah,
No,
there it is.
you've been chill with the takes. Okay. Which is there's nothing wrong with that. We're probably getting a 0-0
I'm
draw
letting the
here. Let's
fans
be
down.
honest.
I'm letting the fans down. You know what that
Yeah,
is?
you are.
All of my haters out there, they're gonna look at this and be like, I ain't got shit to say to him. Damn.
Mhm.
Why am I watching
You'd be
Deadball
like,
if I
he was
can't talk
perfectly
smack?
reasonable this episode.
Yeah, he was totally admissible,
Mhm.
bearable. And
Yeah.
that's not what I'm here to do. So
Sounded like the
Paraguay to the
guys
moon, baby.
on TV talking soccer. They're just underhand pitch, single base, single, single. You
Money ball,
bunting every
baby.
once in a while. Yeah.
That's money ball.
Yeah. God. I think betting money, bet the draw. Bet on a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
But me,
Could
I'm
see
just
that.
taking the Colombian win because if Paraguay win this game, dude, I'm gonna have to sing the Paraguay national anthem all up until the World Cup semifinal. Like, I mean, I'm just like to the moon at that point.
Dude, if Paraguay
And it's
makes
gonna
a
be crazy.
semi,
That would be disgusting.
I'll follow one time
I'm
switch.
totally here. I'm totally here for it. If Paraguay make a dark horse run, can you imagine Ecuador and Paraguay make dark horse runs and they ended up in the semifinal?
That would be pretty. That would be pretty.
Dude, South American geopolitics would be flipped upside down.
Paraguay takes England to penalties in the quarters.
Oh, Ecuador eliminates Spain 1-0. Oh, God.
Now, Ecuador, you know who they're taking? They're taking Portugal. They're taking Portugal. Goodbye. They're going to pull a Morocco.
I
Bye-bye.
think they could beat them. I think they
They
could
could
beat
beat 'em.
Portugal.
Yeah.
I really do. Okay. They're getting grouped now. Let's move on to Venezuela versus Peru. That's our final game. This is an absolute must win for both teams. If Peru lose, it's completely over. A draw doesn't really change anything. If Venezuela win, then the heat is back on Bolivia to do something. But it's a must win. You got to walk out of here with 3 points. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I got Venezuela 2-0 here. I think in Maturin, they've been really, really good. They're just lacking the dubs, namely against the good teams. Today's the day. Rondon steps up, scores a pen. Soteldo gets another one. Vino Tinto 2-0.
I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where it's like the rugby guy, like he's like an inside center or something like that. One of like the medium-sized backs, and he like pushes a winger against a wall, the small, fast guys, and then the guys from the ruck walk by, and he like stands against the wall and like lets him pass. And then
Oh,
he
yes,
walks
I
by and he's
have.
like, "Ugh."
I have seen many of
Yeah.
those.
That's what this is. Venezuela's been getting dog walked, and they finally see Peru, and they're like, thank God. Thank God. Finally, a punching bag. We're going to take all of our stress out on these guys, and God help them if they don't.
God help them if they don't.
Peru wins the first game, and Advíncula does a carry job, and then he comes back here, and they do it again. Venezuela, so long. Goodbye.
If Peru win this game, then everything that Batista did as Venezuela manager, everything at the Copa America, taking 9 points in the group stage, it's all a purple patch and it's basically erased from history. Nobody cares. It's just
Bye-bye.
like, oh yeah, he got hot. That was it.
Yep.
But they suck.
Yep.
I mean,
And I don't
man,
want that to be the case, but Venezuela has been earning that reputation. They've been building towards that failure for a while now. So I'm at the point where I'll tell you what, I'm a consumer, right? I'm the audience. I'm invested in Paraguay now. You lost me. No Vino Tinto shirt for me. I'm looking at Paraguay now. It's the new
I'm not
toy on
trying to
the street.
be I'm not trying to be a dick, but if you're just a Conmebol fan, why do you want Venezuela at the World Cup? They're gonna get ripped apart.
Yeah,
I mean, so will Bolivia. It's cool for the story. It's cool for the history. It ain't cool for the performance. And this is why the expanded spots have killed the drama a little bit because Conmebol is really good right now, but it ain't 7 teams deep. So no matter what, well, we got the Intercontinental Playoff where I think Bolivia or Venezuela, if they have to play like a Saudi Arabia or it would be an Asian team, I'm pretty sure. If they got to play Australia or God, who's another good team? Iraq, Jordan. Those are gonna be big games for those teams. I don't think Bolivia can beat any of them. Venezuela maybe has a chance.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I just don't think it's gonna be a happy mundial if any of them make it. But
correct.
doesn't matter for this particular game. Venezuela gotta have some pride. Maturin is a fortress. It's rocking every single time they play in there. And Peru, man, Peru are just surviving as a team. They're trying to hit the refresh button. I don't know how hard that button is being pressed, but if they got a result here, it'd be a good start because they got a new manager. I don't even know, can't even remember his name right now. But this last thing I want to say about this because I thought it was interesting. I was looking back on Venezuela versus Peru recently, and even during the prime Gareca years, this was actually a really, really close fixture. In 2018 qualifying cycle, both games were draws, and like Venezuela were awful back into and during that cycle. 2019, kind of like close to the peak of Gareca's Peru powers, they drew the Copa. And at the 2021 Copa America, kind of Gareca's last swan song with Peru, they won 1-0 against Venezuela at the Copa. Granted, they tend to do better at the Copa than qualifying, but there's 0 blowouts. In Gareca's entire tenure with Peru, he never blew out Venezuela, who are worse than they are now. I just thought that was interesting. I don't know why.
This is going to be the game of the window.
I pray. Dude, this was like a 3-2 banger. Who's that Danish Peruvian guy? Oliver
Oh,
Sane?
dude, Mr. Refrigerator? Yeah.
Wait, why is he called Mr. Refrigerator?
Doesn't he look like he's like built like a rectangle with a big blonde beard, right? Who am I
I
thinking
actually
of?
have no effing idea who you're talking about. Oliver Sane looks like Timothy Chalamet if he was athletic with tattoos. So you're talking about a completely I don't think there's a
Totally
blonde
different.
bearded man for Peru. That doesn't
Nah,
sound like
maybe there's one on the Paraguayan team. I don't remember.
I think you're talking about Paraguay's backup striker. I'm pretty sure you're talking about
There it
him.
is. That's my boy.
I don't think he's blonde. I don't think he's blonde though, is
Is
he?
that a blonde guy? No,
What's his name?
maybe not.
Isidro Pita. I think he's red hair, dude.
Close enough.
Yeah,
Strawberry blonde.
Isidro Pita. Yeah,
They all look the same to me. So,
pita bread. Yep, I remember this guy now.
Peter Brad.
Yeah, no, Oliver Sane looks nothing like him at all. Completely opposite. Wrong ethnicity, different body type. Sane plays out wide. Pita's a striker. Couldn't be further away from the man's profile, actually.
Well, and there's my hat trick of outrageous takes. Take us out, Jack.
Oh my gosh. You know what the most diabolical thing for your predictions is if Advíncula pulls his hamstring in training and doesn't even play. Because then your entire Peru thesis is just out the window like that.
Yeah. But it's totally
And
possible.
Boca suck.
We suck.
Absolute embarrassment of an institution.
We're terrible. And I'll tell you what, bringing in Dybala won't fix it. And bringing in Paredes won't fix it. We're just bad. We are a bad institution. Everybody blames Roman right now. I don't know enough about the politics there. I'm just wondering why our academy isn't putting out any good talent anymore.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, your league is kind of just getting cooked. It's a separate topic for another day, but it just, I mean, dude, Brazil is pulling away, and they're pulling away hard from the rest of the continent. It's about to become like the Libertadores is about to become a Brazilian Mickey Mouse trophy. It's crazy. I mean, and the Peruvian clubs, I guess Alianza Lima is going to do something and try to do something in the continent, but they're also cooked. Anyways, this has nothing to do with Conmebol qualifiers. If you guys want to hear more talk about South American club football, you can let us know down below in the comments. But we have concluded our predictions for match day 13 and 14 in Conmebol qualifying. There are only 18 games, guys, so we are super, super close. We literally are 2 windows away, including this one, from qualification being done. And then I guess all eyes turn to international friendlies leading up to the World Cup. And I think those videos here on Deadball TV are going to be pretty exciting because we're going to be seeing, Brazil versus Japan friendlies. I've been waiting for Argentina and Japan for 10 years. That game would go so hard right now. It'd be a great test for both sides. I cannot wait till this Nations League Mickey Mouse shit gets out of the way and we can just start getting in to these cross federation friendlies. I'm so hyped for that. And of course, we're going to try to do a live stream for this. Like I said, not sure yet. Follow us on social media. We'll be back for a takeaways video when the window's concluded. We'll be back for more predictions next window, and we're going to be following all the Conmebol national teams up until the 2026 World Cup. So stick around for the ride. If you like South American football, share the pod with a friend, drop a like for the clout, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.